This week on My Global Adventure.
We have encouraged Westerners to actually spend a month on a farm.
Happy birthday, dear Asia.
I'm so impressed with him that he came this far.
I've been on the road now for 4 months, missing everyone in my life. So to have a good friend from Canada come and visit me, I could hardly wait.
Hello! Hey, how you doing?
Oh, good. How are you? Oh, sorry, I smell like nastiness, but we wanted to come and see you and say hi.
How are you doing? Hello. Is this Roger or Tom?
This is Tom.
Tom. Hi, Tom.
Yes,
Hello.
Tom. Michael?
I didn't know if I'd get all the names straight or not.
Yeah, oh, that's okay. You'll learn them quick enough.
There was a small part of me that thought, yeah, actually, if anybody would come and visit me, it would be Michael. But I really didn't think he would do it.
Michael's first test as part of the film crew was to see if he could get up at 3 a.m. for our flight to Ladakh. He did.
To be honest, I was a little bit worried because obviously as a crew we've been together 24/7. We've become very tight-knit as a group, and I thought, I wonder what it's going to be like to try and sort of expand our group and let one more person in.
Ladakh is the eastern part of Kashmir, the most northern state of India. It sits between Pakistan and China. We're heading to Leh, the capital of the Ladakh region, in the middle of the Himalayan mountains.
Having Michael come visit me, I needed that connection to that kind of a person, somebody that knew me away from the show, that would be able to give me a frame of reference that was outside of this past 4 or 5 months. And Michael was perfect for it. It was important to me because I didn't have a focus. I had lost confidence in myself. Yes, and we know that you were expecting only 5.
Yeah.
Yes, we have an extra, so we'll just find somewhere.
Okay.
That'll be the start of the adventure. Get him somewhere. I just hit a point where I didn't remember much of home, and I wasn't familiar with much I was dealing with, and my footing was kind of all over the place. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however the case may be, Michael got the email right at the apex of that experience, and I kind of filtered out on him. Oh my gosh, I'm so lost. Oh, I wish I could see somebody from home.
And I thought, you know what, there's probably not tons of people out there that can just pick up and go and, you know, be there for someone if they needed someone to be there, and I could do it, so I didn't see any reason really to stop myself.
We are now 14,000 feet above sea level, nestled in the lap of the Himalayan mountains. Our introduction to this climate and striking landscape is going to be a ride down the Indus River.
Yep, I'm gonna pull out pneumonia by the end of this little ride here.
Sunshine.
Oh, it doesn't matter. There's a wind chill of like -10. One.
This isn't hard work, is it?
One. Two. Come on. Woo! Oh! Thank you. Say, isn't it more exciting to be in the front? Oh, what a... I think I was looking forward to Ladakh. I'm a mountain girl, born and raised, and to be around mountains is a really regenerating experience for me. I started to feel better. I started to feel more at peace, more grounded, clear-headed. I was really happy to be returning to a mountainous area.
When I told the crew that Michael had decided to, for the span of 2 or 3 days, uproot his life and head over to India on a whim, so we weren't really sure what the heck to think about that whole thing. So yeah, it raised a few eyebrows to have him come visit, but I think it all worked out pretty well in the end. It's morning in Leh, and for breakfast, our guide Tanyat is taking us to the kitchen at the Lakir Gompa Monastery. The people of Ladakh are an ethnic mixture of Tibetan and Northern Indian.
I've been to a lot of different places in the world, and in every place, my definition of what's beautiful has broadened, and it's changed completely to what I used to think it was. A perfect prime example is in this room this morning. This little lady that is helping cooking back here is so my definition of beautiful. You just have to see her face. She's such a little diamond in the rough. It's great.
This little lady and her husband prepare food for the 200 Tibetan Buddhist monks that live at Lakir Gompa.
They are provided food in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening from this kitchen. But during the daytime, as I told you before, the monks go to different villages to do ceremonial rituals at different families. Or if there's like some problems in the village, some diseases or some famine or shortage of water, then they do a prayer, no?
Right.
Then, like, as I told you the story of the rain, how it rained this spring, and all the Ladakhis think that it's because of all the monks doing different kinds of ceremonies, you know, that really helps.
Yeah.
We're all going to go in, and these monks are going to say a prayer for us for a safe journey, and which is probably pretty needed. And I think there's a little hint of a prayer for health as well, which would be good because a lot of us are not feeling so well right now. So.
Ladakh is home to one of the world's last surviving culture of Tibetan Buddhists. Tanyat is taking Michael and me to our first Buddhist ceremony. I was at a point in Ladakh where I was sort of progressively leaving the religion and the faith that I had followed most of my life for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And as interesting as coming in contact with each religious culture was in every country, by the time we got to the Buddhist temple, it was less a religious experience for me and more of sort of a ritual. It was a ritual I actually really enjoyed. I agree with a lot of Buddhist philosophy, and I think it's a really rich culture. I'm glad that we got to kind of go in and have an encounter with them.
I saw people not only feeling that they were poor, but actually starting to say, we're stupid as donkeys.
Ladakh has always been a remote place where influence from outsiders was never encouraged. It wasn't until 1974 that the government let tourists and travelers like me even come to Ladakh. I met someone who showed me how that decision changed the lives of the Ladakhi people. Helena Nordberg Hodge came to Ladakh 26 years ago and stayed.
That's one of the biggest changes I saw was within about 3-4 years. Young people in particular developed this sense that Westerners had the most incredible wealth, the most incredible gadgets, and the reason they thought we were so wealthy was because the difference between their economy and our economy was absolutely not known to them. So when tourists came in the early years, and they would spend like $100 a day, which many of them did. It was like someone coming to Canada and spending $100,000 a day. That led to young people feeling that their own culture was inferior, that it was sort of backward and stupid, and their parents wanting them to farm when if they followed Western style development, they'd also be as rich as we were, is what they thought. And so I saw people, not only feeling that they were poor, but actually starting to say, we're stupid as donkeys. We don't speak the language. And the language was English suddenly.
We had been through enough countries by the time we hit Ladakh to realize that tourism a lot of times is detrimental to a country at worst. At best, it doesn't really give an accurate picture of what that society is actually like. I mean, you can't really find out what a society is like by sitting on the other side of a window in a bus, taking a picture. That's why Helena introduced me to the Women's Alliance, a group she started 10 years ago. Once a month, they meet at their project office here in Leh. One of their goals is to encourage their children to take pride in the traditional Ladakhi way of life by inviting outsiders in.
We have encouraged Westerners to actually spend a month on a farm with a family, living with a family, helping out with everything from cleaning and milking cows and taking the cows grazing, trying to harvest. And there's just the idea behind that was to try to raise the status of agriculture for young people who had developed this sense that it was backward and primitive.
I had the chance to meet two volunteers, Jim from England, and the other is Sarah from North Carolina.
It's been interesting here seeing how the sexes really work together, even the heavy labor, like my Achele had huge bundles of barley on her back as well. And also the men with the childcare. I mean, it's amazing. Like the grandfather and brother and everything's just sort of together. I was doing this a second ago and I did it yesterday and it was really hard and it almost broke my arm.
Are you serious?
After a while, but don't tell them that.
I'll translate into Ladakhi for them, yeah. They won't get it from me. Oh, that's great. How many hours would they do that then?
It's not that long. It takes, I don't know, this part takes maybe 15 minutes, but this is like the end of the process.
Okay.
This is the nuss, which is barley, and it started in the field, and then you hand pick it or cut it down with a scythe, then you lay it out to dry. You stack it in these massive bundles and you tie it with 2 ropes on your back. Then you make the haystacks, then you lay them out on the ground and the cows walk around in circles on them and thresh them. And this falls out on the bottom. Okay. But then all of this chaff is still left, and so you have to winnow it, and the wind carries it away. And then this is what's left. And then you do this thing, and then you put it in bags, and that's it.
Right.
I've always liked the idea of subsistence farming. It's always really appealed to me. It's something that doesn't happen most places in the world. And this is one of the few places I could find that it still exists and I could get to come work here. Although there is plenty of time for them to rest, and this is the hardest month really, the harvesting month, generally they do work very hard. And you can see why there's some appeal to having a life where you don't work so hard.
Jim and Sarah were two people who, instead of sitting back and theorizing and going, that's just terrible the way the world's going over there, they actually took their own lives and headed off and did something about it. And that garners respect to me.
How has her impression of the West changed by having Westerners come stay with her?
I had spent a lot of my life in theory, in theoretical things and thinking about stuff and analyzing stuff and reading about stuff and, going to school to learn about things. And Helena was just the practical application of all of that kind of learning.
But it was local wisdom and not something that came in from... really are running not a lot of air up here. So you are aware you're going to have to explain like everything point blank to me from here. I've never been to a polo match before. And to be honest, I never thought I would say, I'm in Ladakh going to a polo match.
Polo is the most ancient and famous games in Ladakh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually polo originated in Central Asia, somewhere around Ladakh.
Really?
Yeah.
That I did not know. I thought it was an English thing.
No.
I learned that the Ladakhis have played polo here in the shadow of the king's palace for more than 400 years.
All the white horses are on one team and the black horses on the other, or is that just coincidence?
Oh no, it's just coincidence.
Okay.
You could see those guys in white and black, black and white.
Oh, okay.
They're one team, and the ones
burgundy.
who's wearing red, it's another team. Careful.
Here we go, Tom. There we go. Nice hits. Yes. People get pretty ecstatic about it here. Like, you know how some places around the world with soccer, with football, they get just crazy, and people ever get like that here?
No, not so crazy. They do cheer up a lot, but not so crazy.
It's more civilized.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Action Adventure Day. Okay, so the web audience voted for us to do archery and beer. Which kind of sounds cool in theory, but in practice, the Ladakh festival that is supposed to be hosting this archery and beer type stuff is actually not happening anymore.
So we decided to replace it with some rock climbing. I mean, my God, we were in the Himalayas and we weren't going to go rock climbing? I don't think so.
So sickness, altitude, it's pretty chilly. It's pretty chilly out here. It makes the hands a little hard to move.
Lack of equipment.
Lack of equipment, spontaneous, last-minute decisions. I think we'll do pretty well.
Yeah, recipe
Survive the day.
for success.
Recipe for disaster.
This is kind of cool. Tanyat.
Tanyat's thinking.
Tanya was like a freaking mountain goat. Woo, 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 woo. He went off. We couldn't even tell him from the rocks. He got so far in the distance.
Hey, how you doing there? Tanyat, the victor. Do you think we can make it straight up here, or is that too steep? I don't know what's around the corner, but this looks possible, but there's some loose rock. I'm just worried about it breaking.
We really are running on not a lot of air up here. Woo. How much farther, Papa Smurf? Not much farther now. How do you figure? I thought this was right here was the peak that we were looking at. We reached the peak that we aimed for, right here. It's the one we were looking at from down there. We've given the big boys at home a big wave. Give them another one, make sure they got it. Now we're gonna hit that peak, just because.
All right.
Because we're here. It's been amazing to be able to climb the Himalayas while we're here. And you really just don't get to understand the beauty until you're in the middle of it.
You know, this was just a really cool 2 weeks to get to know the crew and get to spend some quality time with Asia. And I hope that we stay close friends and can stay in each other's lives. But
I'm never gonna talk to you again.
probably not. So I'll just take my 2 weeks. It was amazing.
our last night in Ladakh, and we're having dinner with Tanyat and his family.
A birthday
To be somewhere as funky as Ladakh for my birthday, that was cool. It was very sweet. I was surprised, I have to admit. By the time we reached Ladakh, it was halfway through this trip. The crew had gone through these phases. You know, we had started off with not really knowing each other. And I think by the time we hit Ladakh, we were finally starting to move into a stage where we were becoming more like family.
It's my birthday, I'm allowed.
And we're all here together.
Specialist. What would be the most efficient way to make this split into 12 people?
Probably one of the things that struck me the most.
Okay, here's your piece.
That I had lived so much of my life thinking the world revolved around me, and everybody should play house the way I want them to play it. You know, I knew the world was different in my head. I knew a lot of things before I went on this trip that I didn't really understand until I encountered them and until I experienced them. And by the time we hit Ladakh, I was finally starting to just relax and realize that things aren't better or worse or black or white or rich or poor or west or east or whatever. They're just all different. The more I realized that that made me open to being able to connect to those very people. Something that I'd missed in my past that I wasn't going to miss from that point on.
Coming up on My Global Adventure.
Hong Kong, I think, is probably the busiest place I've ever been.